Good morning, everybody. Everything new under the sun. I want to take a look at today's events and just provide a little commentary on what I think is happening and what I think may happen in the near future. And there is a big event happening today, which I think will shift the focus of the war, and that will be for Russia to decide. But we'll take a look at it. This is CNBC, your favorite mainstream media economic channel out of the U.S., obviously. And the Dow Jones is up 134 points before end of day. So everything is awesome. Did you know that the U.S. just chose to ban Russian imports of oil? And there's a 45-day timeline to kind of wind down existing contracts. So even with the banning of all Russian oil, the Dow Jones is up, the S&P is up, the NASDAQ is up. You got to figure that someone is in there with a lot of money propping it up, because it doesn't make any sense, especially with Russia warning of $300 per barrel oil. With the price of oil increasing, that all bodes very, very badly for the overall economy. We are in trouble, folks. We are in economic trouble, economic collapse. And again, it's astounding that the economy hasn't crashed already. It should have crashed before COVID. Now it is beyond life support. I think the economy is in a coma right now, and I don't know how it's muddling along other than the central banks directly interfering. And like you saw with the wheat price, it was limiting up for 6 days. Now it has since started trading, and it didn't limit up today, as far as I know. We'll have a look at it. But let's take a look. So crude oil jumps as much as 7% on U.S. ban of Russian imports. And this is news today. They agreed upon this today. And again, the Dow Jones is up. I see the S&P just turned negative. I wonder if it'll head downwards at the end of day. But interesting situation. Dow Jones now 41 up, green on the day. We'll see how it ends up. McDonald's has temporarily stopped or closed their restaurants in Russia as, again, a penalty, as the world cancels Russia. And don't be mistaken, they can cancel Russia, they can cut off credit cards, cut off bank accounts, cut them completely off from the economy and the world society. And you know what? They're going to do that to you as well if you're not listening, if you're not doing what they want as the world government. It's a very scary situation, the control that the cancel culture and the world now has on everybody. Because like it or not, pretty much everything is digital now. Everything effectively is digital. Even if you're not using digital all the time yourself, even if you still use cash, they can still cut you off digitally because your bank account is completely digital. Who actually has cash in their wallets these days? You probably go with your Interac card. I do the same. And that's all digital, so they can shut you off. And nobody is, I would suggest a fraction of a percentage point are ready for their accounts to be frozen, just like happened in Canada, is now happening in Russia, will now happen throughout the world, because now it's a common thing. It works well, and the governments know it works, and they're going to use this going forward for anyone who doesn't agree with them. Wheat. Let's take a quick look at wheat here. And wheat has actually went down a little bit. It was down even further today. Let's go to the 1 month. You can kind of see the steps upwards, and that's all the limit up prices. So you can see the limit up prices over the last number of days. Limit up, limit up, limit up. And then all of a sudden, today they started trading, and it went down a little bit. It looks like maybe people took profits or whatever, and sold some of their wheat futures, whatever they're buying in the market. But then it did spike up as well, but it did not limit up. There was a spike there, getting close to limit up, but they did not get there. So we'll see if that is actually sustained on the markets as we go forward. But I don't see why this wouldn't continue to go up. And I suggest to you that maybe there's some big people in the markets. After going a limit up for 5 days, you would think it would still go that way. And there's a lot of fear in the markets right now. So I suggest to you that there's governments and big money in there doing what they can to make it look like it's trading normally again, quote unquote, and in a stable fashion instead of limiting up day after day. I think there's manipulation going on there. We'll see. So latest news now is not this. This is what I want to cover. This is a zero hedge. Poland has now agreed to give up all its MiG-29 jets. Now, they're not going to transfer them over the border to Ukraine. They think that would they would see repercussions from that from Russia. But they're going to make their whole fleet available of MiG-29s for the U.S. to transfer. So it's going to be the U.S. fault to transfer to Ukraine. So what they're actually doing is they're sending them to Ramstein base in Germany. In the latest major development in what's become a huge operation mounted by individual NATO member states to assist Ukraine's military, Poland has announced it is ready to transfer all Russian-made MiG-29 jets to the Ramstein air base in Germany. Why? Well, again, Poland doesn't want to be seen as the one directly transferring to Ukraine. So they've agreed to go through Germany. Germany has agreed to this. And now the United States will use these. A statement posted Tuesday to its Ministry of Foreign Affairs website indicated that jets will be placed at the disposal of the government of the United States of America, which in turn is expected to send them to Ukraine after Zelensky had issued a series of urgent appeals for fighter planes. And they need fighter planes. If they're going to win any sort of war against Russia, they need fighter planes to stop the air attacks and to hit the convoys on the ground. This is going to be a turning point. I suggest to you as well that Russia will decide that this is now a declaration of war. When you start sending war machines in, like tanks or fighter jets, I don't see how Russia can stand by and see that happen without saying, you know what, United States, you're declaring war on us because you're sending, it's one thing to send bullets and even Stinger missiles and javelins. I think it's a whole nother thing, in my personal opinion, to actually be delivering fighter jets into Ukraine against Russia. We'll see how Russia responds to this. And Russia has already said financial sanctions are already basically a declaration of war. So I think all the world is waiting for at this point is for Russia to decide, okay, I'm going to fire my nuclear weapons, because I think a couple of red lines have already passed for Russia. The authorities of the Republic of Poland, after consultation between the president of the government and the government, are ready to deploy immediately and free of charge all of their MiG-29 jets. Now, how many is that? I'm not exactly sure, how many jets that are. But interesting. They're going to Germany first, and then I suspect they may get Ukrainian fighter jet pilots over into Germany somehow, transport them there, get them out, and then have them fly the planes from Germany over to Ukraine. But what about air support? What about air defenses, so that these aren't shot out of the sky by Russian air defense in Russia's borders, or probably there's air defense systems now in Ukraine across the border that Russia has carried over there. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this turns out. But again, I predict, and we'll see if I'm right or not. I predict Russia will ultimately, after a couple of days, once these are transferred, suggest that this is a declaration of war. It's escalating. The situation is escalating. As it relates to Russian oil and the ban, massive pressure on Russia. But what Russia is doing is saying, okay, well, that's fine. China has come out and said they're going to buy up all the Russian oil that isn't being sold to the U.S. or to other countries. The other thing that Russia said, okay, well, you can ban our oil, but we're going to shut off the Nord Stream pipeline to Europe. Now Europe isn't going to have any natural gas or petroleum in any form. So that's their rebuttal response to the ban of Russian oil imports. So we are escalating higher and higher and getting very, very close just to all-out declared warfare and World War. And I don't understand why you would suggest this is anything else than World War III. Looks a little different than World War II, World War I, but effectively that's what's happening. The world is at war against Russia, effectively. And this is from Jerusalem Post here. Alternative to NATO proposed by Zelensky. So he's coming out and saying, well, NATO's not going to add us for 15 years, and that's what NATO's come out and said. They're not going to consider adding Ukraine for 15 years. But what if we come to an agreement with Russia, United States, and other countries and say, you know what, you respect Ukraine, and in turn you can back off, and maybe we'll sign over Crimea or something. They're considering what they're going to do about Crimea officially, and so he's trying to come up with some agreement there to end this. Does this happen? Does Putin and Russia say, you know what, it's not looking good for us. Maybe it's time to turn tail, if you as they say, maybe save a little bit of face, come to some agreement in Ukraine that they can all kind of go with, and if they get Crimea free and clear, maybe they get Donetsk and what's the other one? Donbass. I forget the other location. Anyways, if they get those two regions in this agreement, maybe everybody feels that they got something out of the deal. But many commentators have suggested that you know what, Russia's not in it, Putin's not in it for just doing that. I think at this point he has to go all the way to show his strength. And but again, I think the defining moment is going to be the transfer of these planes to Ukraine. If they get to Ukraine, get them there safely, and if Ukraine can use them effectively, I think this is going to be a turning point. And if these get shot out of the sky, that's even a bigger deal by Russian air defense systems. So that's what's happening in the world. I think as it relates to the timeline of the return of the Lord, I think we're on that timeline. I think things will get very, very bad before the Antichrist figure can pop his head up, because the world's not going to be ready. If we're not in war, in famine, in absolute desperation, United States, Canada, Australia, Britain, we're not going to come to the table and say we will accept a world government. We will accept a one world leader. I think it has to get really, really bad before the Antichrist can really come onto the scene and get everybody, the citizens of the world, to lay down their sovereignty, their sovereign nations, their sovereign currency, and commit to a new world currency system. So again, I suggest it gets real bad, and it seems to be getting real bad right now. If you look at all the economic, geopolitical situations on the map here, and that means we could be in for a very rough couple of months here, very, very bad. And if this is it, it will be shock and awe. You will be shocked and in awe of what is actually occurring before our eyes. But know this: if we are still here, if the rapture doesn't occur, watch for that world leader to step up and say, you know what, I'm going to bring the world together. I'm going to create peace in the Middle East and peace around the world, and create a new monetary system. And I think if we are here, then that's what we would expect to see happen. We're in the very last days, folks, the last seconds of the last days, I believe. I think the 7-year period starts at the end of this year as we're in the Shemitah. We'll see. Could it be 15 years out? It could be. Could it be 50, 100 years ago? Maybe. I don't know everything. I don't know exactly when this is going to go down. But I think with World War III effectively on the horizon, recognized by the world, you would be silly not to be ready, to be prepared, to get your heart in order, to find Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, the free gift of salvation given to those who repent of their sins and recognize that Jesus Christ died on the cross for their sins 2,000 years ago. He died and rose again, and he's coming soon, and he's going to take the saints with him prior to the wrath that he will bring upon the earth. But we're not there yet. There has to be some real significant milestones happen prior to the wrath of God. It gets far worse from here. We ain't seen nothing yet. And that's not correct English, but I believe much more is coming. Again, we haven't seen any sort of hardship in North America yet. It's going to get real bad, and that's what I think is going to happen prophetically. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.